Hey guys, Novaexplosion. Here I am with a video that probably most of you weren't even expecting, but I'm going to be making a tier list, a quick little tier list, spoiler-free, of all the PS1 RPGs I played, because when I end up playing more of the PS1 RPGs, I want to make a tier list with all of them, but there's still a lot I haven't played. So I actually jotted down all the ones I have played, and I'm basically going to put them in a quick little tier list from S to D. So let's get started. Let's actually shuffle this a little bit. I don't want to like do this in the right order. Yeah, I'm just going to shuffle this a little bit because this is actually not the order I originally had planned, but lo and behold, it is the order we have. So this one here, put this one a bit further. This works out pretty well. Alright. This is pretty solid. But yeah, alright, let's get started. So I have some Spotify music playing in the background, just a random playlist. But yeah, so first of all, I want to make sure my screen is capturing. It is. As long as it's windowed, it captures. But yeah, Lunar Silver Star Story. I actually started playing this game again. I really remember loving it, and it's made by Game Arts. Game Arts does really good at their job. And it's also similar to Grandia, which I love Grandia. So like, I don't know. Absolutely not D or C. Like Lunar 1 is not a D or a C game. It might be a B game, probably. B or A. I'm honestly divided between B and A. I could end up switching these as I talk about the game, but I really like the story. The story's like simple, but it's a cute little love story between Alex and Luna. I really love the characters. By the way, I'm not gonna like majorly spoil the games, but I might talk about minor spoilers, but nothing like too big. No like plot twists or anything. Lunar 1 does have the best villain, I believe, in all of PS1 RPGs. I believe Galleon is one of the best PS1 villains of all time. So, I don't know. I'm tempted to put him in A. Put Galleon, or not Galleon. Put Lunar in A because of that. Because, like, the combat is, like, fairly basic. It's fine. It's, like, decent. I really like the characters a lot. And I really like the story's nice. The world and the lore is really good. Lunar 1, especially Lunar 2. Oh, just wait till we get to Lunar 2. But, I don't know. I'm tempted to put it in A. I'm probably going to put it in A, and we'll see if I end up switching that as I talk about more games. But, yeah. So, Lunar 1, I'm going to put in A tier. It is a really good RPG that I'd highly recommend you try. Unfortunately, the copies are, like, really expensive, so if you want to play it, I'd emulate it. But, yeah, next up, we have Grandia. Easily an S tier. Easiest S tier of my entire career. Grandia is one of my favorite games of all time. I absolutely love this game. From the world, the characters, the lore, the story. The story is nothing like super groundbreaking, but it's so good. It's like, it's a really nice tale of a boy who wants to go on an adventure, and I really love it. Justin's a great protagonist. I also really like Fina as well, and Sue for the time she's there is really, really good. Justin and Fina's growth throughout the game is really nice, and seeing Justin grow is amazing. But, again, I'm talking about light spoilers. The combat is also really fun. Grandia has one of the best turn-based combats of all time. The music is really good. I could just sing praises about Grandia. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Go watch my playthrough if you haven't. I'll be playing the Redux patch soon, so maybe wait for that too. But, Grandia is just full of charm. I just can't help but love it. It's basically perfect in my eyes. But yeah, Legend of Mana is next. I played this game when it was remastered for the PS4. Probably a C tier? Maybe? I didn't really gel with the game too much. I started doing a playthrough of it on YouTube, and I remember getting bored of it and just never going back to it. And then on my own time, I went back to finish it, and I was like, yeah, it was alright. Like, nothing special, but nothing, like, terrible. Legend of Mana, like, barely has, like, actual story. It's mostly just, like, little storylines, like, interconnected storylines with different characters and stuff, and The way it works is actually interesting in that you do missions and you get like the landmarks and you put the landmarks and actually get to make your own map, which is really cool. So I'd highly recommend looking up Legend of Mana. Like, it's on modern consoles. Like, I thought it was an okay game. Nothing I would want to play again, but I thought it was fine. It wasn't like a terrible game. Didn't waste my time. But yeah, you know, Mana games aren't really like deep on story anyway, so there's not much to say there. But I do remember the combat being kind of button mashy, but not as much as the Trials of Mana, the original. I love the Trials of Mana remake, but not as much as the Trials of Mana I keep saying remake, dude. It's like 3 in the morning. Not as much as the original Trials of Mana, but the combat was like fine. But anyway, let me higher my music a little bit. There we go. All right. Valkyrie profile. It's like Lunar 1, A or B. I think before I played a lot of these games, this would have been in my PS1 trifecta. My PS1 trifecta is basically my top 3 PS1 games, which I know what they are already. You might know as well if you've been watching my content. I'm trying to think. S, A, B, C. Absolutely not B or C. I don't know. I'm tempted to put Valkyrie profile in A. The real question is, do I like Valkyrie profile more than I like Lunar? Valkyrie profile has really fun combat. I feel like combat Valkyrie profile wins. But then the story is like really good for the time. Lenneth is a great protagonist. And Lucian's also a great character. It tells a really nice story of Lenneth being a Valkyrie, and Valkyrie profile is elevated really if you go for the A ending. Valkyrie profile basically has 3 routes. One of them is like a glorified game over. The second one is the B ending route, which is the default ending, and it's not very good. But the A ending is where it's at with Valkyrie profile, where Lenneth actually discovers about her human self, and also it involves another character, one of the Einherjar, who she knows. Again, I'm not going to spoil it. But I'm not going to spoil the whole plot. I'm giving you the gist of the plot. But that's the A ending route, which is like really hard to get for a first playthrough. So Valkyrie profile, if not for the A ending route, it would absolutely be a B. I think I'm going to put it in the A because I really like Lenneth as a protagonist. I feel like Lenneth as a protagonist lifts this game. Also, the combat is really fun. It's not like... It's probably like... Of these games here, I'm trying to think... It might be the second best combat of all the ones listed here. Yeah, I'm looking at all these games. I think Valkyrie profile has the second best combat of the ones listed. Grandia is obviously number 1. But Valkyrie profile is really good. The music is also amazing. Motoi Sakuraba does great. The graphics look really nice. The dungeons are a ton of fun. I really love the dungeons of Valkyrie profile. So yeah, I think Valkyrie profile gets an A tier. I feel like gameplay, Valkyrie profile really hits it home. Like, it does really well gameplay. Not to say Grandia, Lunar don't do good with gameplay. They do, but, like, they're traditional RPGs. But, like, while Valkyrie profile is, it does so good with revolutionary gameplay. So, I feel like the gameplay of Valkyrie profile, like, lifts it for me. But, either way, it's got a great protagonist in Lenneth. Norse mythology is really nice. Some of the Einherjar backstories are really good. It's a fun game. Valkyrie profile, it's also available on modern consoles. Not modern consoles, only PlayStation. It's on PS4 and PS5, so I'd highly recommend checking it out if you can. Next up, we have Wild Arms. I was recently on a Wild Arms addiction. I played Wild Arms 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Streamed all back to back. Wild Arms 1. I don't like Wild Arms 1 more than Lunar and Valkyrie profile. Although, it wouldn't be too far. I think I'm going to put Wild Arms 1 in B tier? I'm tempted to put it in B tier. I'm talking about it really quick. But, Wild Arms 1 is standard turn-based combat. Not much to say there. I think the story is really nice. It's a simple story, but it works really well. It works really well, the story for Wild Arms 1. And I really love the trio, Rudy, Jack, and Cecilia. Even Rudy, who's a silent protagonist, I think they do pretty well with. And the lore and the world building of Wild Arms is really good. I'm really tempted to put it in A tier. I think I'm gonna put it in B tier. Like, if I had to divide this, right, I think Wild Arms 1 just misses A tier. Like, it's a really, really good game. But, again, Wild Arms 1 is still great. But, it's competing against all these other PS1 RPGs, and I'm kind of like, you know, I gotta have some boundaries. Like, there's gotta be, like, I feel like in this ranking, there's gotta be a clear system to be like, okay, which one is, this one's better than the last one, etc. You know, like, Grandia's in the S tier, and then Lunar and Valkyrie Profile are in the A tier. And while Wild Arms 1, I'm tempted to put it in A tier. It's either low A tier or high B tier. It's like, it like just misses the mark. Probably the one thing is, I'm trying to think. Because I feel like Wild Arms 1, the only like negative I could think of with the game is the directioning in the second half of the game. Like, directioning in the second half of the game is terrible. Like, they don't tell you at all where to go. It's kind of like, hey, have fun figuring out where to go, and there's like no hints. That's like the biggest issue with Wild Arms 1. So yeah, I mean, like, I can't really think of anything. I think what it really comes down to is, while I love Wild Arms 1, it's probably like, I just don't love it as much as like Grandia, Lunar, Valkyrie Profile, but it's still a really good game, and it was my introduction to the Wild Arms series, and I definitely look forward to playing Alter Code F, which is a PS2 remake. But yeah, music is also phenomenal. Wild Arms does great with music. It's one of my favorite OSTs of all time. But, combat I talked about. Yeah, Wild Arms 1 is just a fun time. It's a traditional RPG, PS1. If you know what you're getting into, then I'd give it a try. It's also on PS4, PS5, especially via PS Plus, so I'd give it a try if you're looking for another classic RPG to play. Alright, Lunar 2. Again, an easy S tier. Lunar 2 is in my trifecta for PS1 RPGs. I actually don't know if it's number 2 or 3. It's practically battling with the other game we're going to talk about. But, Lunar 2 is basically Lunar 1, but better. The only thing that Lunar 1 has over Lunar 2 is Null is a better battle companion than Ruby. But Lunar 2 ups the combat. It has the crest system. I remember having a lot of fun with the crest system in Lunar 2, where you can mix and match different spells and combos. The characters are really good. I like Lunar 1's characters, but I also really love Ronfar, Jean, Lamina, Hero, and, oh, what's his name? Leo, and Lucia as well is fine. But, the characters are really good. The story's still nothing groundbreaking, but I think it hits a lot of darker themes really well. I think the story in Lunar 2 is just better. It has a bit of, like, a false religion in it. It also has some dark themes, like the fake goddess Althena. And what really elevates the story for me is that it really makes playing Lunar 1 worth it. Like, it elevates Lunar 2 to play Lunar 1 before it. Like, again, I'm not going to spoil exactly, but I would highly recommend playing Lunar 1, then going to Lunar 2, because they take place 1,000 years from each other, but Lunar 2 does so well to build up the lore that Lunar 1 set up. So, I think it's a really good game. It's one of my favorites of all time. Really, negatives, again, I can't think of the negatives. The characters are great, the combat is good enough, the music is really good, the graphics look nice, and it's basically just Lunar 1 but better. So, I mean, like, it improves in Lunar 1 in basically every way, but, you know, it's a Game Arts classic. I'm hoping they port the Lunar games to Switch. I don't have much hope, but I really want them to. But yeah, Lunar 2, unfortunately, very unaccessible like Lunar 1, but if you want to play it, then I'd say emulate it is your best bet. So, yeah, what else? What else do we have here? Arc the Lad 3. This is a B tier game. B tier. B tier. I was gonna put this in C tier. I feel like Arc the Lad 3 is a... It's an interesting game, because when I was playing it, I remember thinking it was pretty good for like the first 20 hours, And then as it kept going and going, it kind of started to drag. Octolad 3 is a game that kind of just overstays its welcome, and like the longer you play it, the more it starts to drag. Like, I have a similar problem with Fire Emblem Engage, which I'm not going to talk too much about because this is about PS1 RPGs. But Octolad 3, like, starts off good and good enough in the first, like, 20 hours. But the thing is, it doesn't really elevate. Like, the story, like, in Octolad 3 is driven by the job system. And some of the jobs are pretty good. And some of the job storylines are nice for the characters and just the NPCs. But a lot of them are just, like, filler nonsense. Like, they don't really do much. And the story is basically pushed along by this job system, and it kind of hurts it. Like, I can kind of see the route they went with Arc the Lad 3, and I respect it. I respect them being like, oh yeah, 5 years after the Great Disaster, we're gonna have people try to move on, and we're gonna also have these little subplots. I understand what they were going for. They were going for like a lighthearted tone, and I think that works well. But I don't think they did it that well, personally. Like, I didn't really vibe with it. Like, I respect them for trying it, but I don't think they did it super well. And I would just always prioritize a story that is like, you know, a continuous storyline. I don't want to talk about Arc the Lad 2 too much because we'll get to it, but when I talk about Arc the Lad 2, I'll compare it to Arc the Lad 3. But I like to have a continuous storyline. Like, if you want to have a side quest system, a job system, that's fine. But I would rather have a main storyline, you know? Like, have a main storyline and then have the jobs and the side quests and the NPC stuff on the side. But the thing is, Arc the Lad 3 heavily revolves around this job system to move on the plot. It's like, hey, do a couple of jobs. Alec wants to become a hunter. Some stuff is happening with the Arc the Lad 2 characters, but they get sidelined so hard. And then eventually the Dark One's back. It's just like, the main story was never its focus, and that's really disappointing. It's both a slow burn, and then it doesn't really go anywhere, I feel. But, let's talk about good things about Arc the Lad 3, because I think Arc the Lad 3 has a couple of good points. I really, I don't love the cast, but I like the cast. Alec is a good enough protagonist. I think Alec is a pretty good protagonist. I don't really like Lutz. Lutz I do not like. Theo is okay. Marcia is good. Marcia is good. Theo is fine. Cheryl and Velhar I remember really liking. I think the characters are fine. They're neat to, like, pretty good at moments. And they have a really nice chemistry with each other in some of the jobs. And the writing is also really good. Work and designs for better and worse. But, I think the characters are pretty good. Like, again, the game really just overstays its welcome. I stopped doing the jobs because of how much the game just started to drag without much impact or much investment. And I still spent like 45 hours with the game, I believe. So I could have spent like close to 60 or something. But yeah, the music is also the best in the Arc the Lad series. It's still like not Wild Arms or Lunar or Valkyrie Profile levels of good. But of the Arc the Lad trilogy, I think 3 is the best soundtrack. I will stand on that hill. And the combat is like... The combat is both... Like, it's weird. Like, it's an evolution of Arc the Lad 1 and 2. For better. Like, you can do a lot more things. Like, you can, like, aim a spell on, like, an empty square, an empty grid square. It just has a lot of quality of life improvements. But the game is, like, really easy. Like, the game is laughably easy. A lot of stuff in the mid to late game just dies from, like, one magic spell. Haha, Alec Force Ring, you win. It's like, it's just like spam magic, and the game is like really easy. The game's difficulty balancing is whack. It starts off like fine, decently challenging, not even challenging, just not super easy, but it eventually just becomes super easy. So, the combat, while on paper is better than Arc the Lad 2, is a lot easier, and it's just like, you steamroll the game. But, overall, I don't have much to say. I am disappointed. I think Arc the Lad 3 was a good enough epilogue from Arc the Lad 2, but I'm also left disappointed because I love Arc the Lad 2, and I wanted a better conclusion to their story. And I feel like Tosh, Shu, Elk especially, really just kind of get sidelined in the game. While it was nice to... I think the ending of Arc the Lad 3 is really good, and it was about the 6. I don't know. I wanted more with the Arc the Lad 2 characters. If Arc the Lad 3 gave me more with the Arc the Lad 2 characters, and it had an actual storyline that wasn't just the job system, then I would have been like, yeah, you know what, Arctolad 3 probably would have, it probably maybe wouldn't have overthrown Arctolad 2, but it would have been an A tier. Let's just put it like that. It would have been an A tier if it did all those things. Even still, I think Arctolad 3 is a fun game. I think it's a fun time. I would really only recommend it if you played Arctolad 1 and 2 and liked them well enough and be like, oh, should I try the third one? I'm like, yeah, try it out. But do not start by Arctolad 3, not only because it, like, has spoilers for the second game, but just don't. It's, like, you know, it's a game that can be enjoyed if you played the first two, I think. But overall, B tier. I definitely don't like it as much as Wild Arms 1. Wild Arms 1 is definitely better than Arctolad 3. Arctolad 3, it's a solid game. You could do a lot worse. I had my fun time with it when I did my playthrough. But yeah, that's I think I talked enough about Arctolad 3. I had a lot of opinions on it. Wild Arms 2. I'm tempted to put this in S tier. I don't think I'm going to. I'm trying to think if S tier is just going to be my trifecta. I know my top 5 PS5. I know my top 5 PS1 RPGs. What it really comes down to is do I want 4 or do I want 3 in my S tier? Whatever is 5th place, my 5th place PS1 RPG is not going to be in my S tier. However, Wild Arms 2 is, I believe Wild Arms 2, I could probably say this because I got the Platinum Trophy and did all the content, basically. But, Wild Arms 2 is probably my 4th favorite PS1 RPG. So, I mean, like, it's either really high A tier just outside of S tier, or I'll just give it S tier. I'm not sure. Because part of me wants to put my S tiers as trifecta games. The trifecta games as S tier. Well, let's talk about Wild Arms 2 and I'll think about that. But the story in Wild Arms 2 is amazing. I don't care what people say about the translation. I really love the story. I think it was really good. The themes of heroism were really good. Ashley was a really good protagonist. I also really like the other characters. Kanan, Brad. Brad's okay. Kanan, Loka, Tim are good characters. Maribel, you know, she's neat, and then Brad is like okay. But I really like the characters of the game. The villain, also really good. The Irving twist still gets to me every time. I love the way they pivoted from... actually, I don't want to spoil it. Irving twist, you know? If you know, you know. I did say I was gonna spoil, but I got carried away. I'll probably put, like, light spoilers in the video title, but, if you know, you know. Anyway, I really love the story. I really love the story of the game. The translation's like questionable, but I don't think it ruins the story. The story's still really good. I love the cast. The combat is better than Wild Arms 1. Still not amazing, but the combat is still really fun. Turning into Nightblazer, oh, hearing that music from Ashley turning into Nightblazer is just like, it gives me goosebumps every single time. I adore it. The concept of Nightblazer is also really good. The music is phenomenal. I can go on. I think they did the themes of sci-fi really well. And again, I'm not gonna say much, but there's two halves of the game. I think it does it really well in Wild Arms 2. I'm trying to think. Dungeons are really fun. They got some really fun puzzles in Wild Arms 2. Some of the best in Wild Arms. Some of the best in RPG gaming, period. Negatives for Wild Arms 2 is the search system, unfortunately. They introduced a search system in this game. I do think the search system stops being a problem. Like, oh, when do you get the radar? It's when you get Kanan, you get like the is it called the map scope? Not the radar. It's called the map scope. You get the map scope around when you get Kanan, which is like about 10 to 15 hours in the game. I think the search system stops being a problem, but you know, it's still a negative to the game. It's not like terrible, but it's a lot better than it is in Wild Arms 3. Wild Arms 3, the search system is more of a problem, but it is still a negative with the game, the search system. Like Wild Arms 1 was better off not having it. Wild Arms was better without it, but overall, it doesn't like ruin the game. I think Wild Arms 2 is still a phenomenal game. Optional dungeons, optional bosses are just great. Wild Arms 2 is just chock full of content. It's a really fun game. Got nice themes, great story, great characters, fun enough combat. Night Blazer is awesome. It's a really good game. I played it and I was just like, oh, this game is amazing. And then sitting on it for a few days, I'm like, yeah, this is my favorite Wild Arms game, and this is also like one of my favorite PS1 RPGs. It was really fun. I'm putting it in S tier. With that said, I think just talking about Wild Arms 2 gets me so excited. it's just such a good game. But yeah, Wild Arms 2, I think that's about all I have to say on it. I gushed about it long enough. Star Ocean 2. I recently played Second Story R. This goes in C tier. I'm gonna put this above Legend of Mana. Star Ocean 2 is fine. I looked upon this game more favorably in the past. I think the story is fine enough for what it is. The recruitment system is unique and ahead of its time. The characters are neat, nothing special. The music is really good. It's Motoi Sakuraba. The combat, not a fan. Not a fan of the combat. I played Second Story back in the day on the PS1, and I was like, yeah, the game is good. But when I played Second Evolution for the channel, I got a new perspective where the combat just started to get really repetitive and really start to drag. And I was just like, yeah, Star Ocean 2's combat is it's just not fun. Because all you're essentially doing is like spamming the X button, spamming killer moves, etc. And bosses have like some super armor involved, or they have some gimmicks going on. So it's like the combat in Star Ocean 2 just isn't that fun. Like at the end of the day, it's kind of like it's the kind of game where you break the game, but even then, if you break the game, it's still not satisfying. Like it expects you to break it. And Second Story R, we're not talking about Second Story R because this is about the original Star Ocean 2. So Second Evolution, Second Story, whatever. But the combat just isn't fun. And I thought Second Story R would be better, but it's still Star Ocean 2. But anyway, back to Star Ocean 2 original / Second Evolution, because that's essentially the same game. The combat's just not fun. Basically, it's really just like spamming, and it gets really repetitive and really dull and really tedious really fast. But luckily the game isn't super long, so that's really nice, and that kind of helps it. I think the characters are neat. I don't think they're anything to write home about. I do think Claude and Reyna are good protagonists. I really like their dynamic with each other, and also just choosing between Claude and Reyna and getting different a different party member for each and different perspectives is really nice. What else? Star Ocean 2. I'm trying to think. I lost my train of thought here. I'm doing this like unimprovised and without a script, as you can probably tell. Star Ocean 2. I'm trying to think of what else to say about it. The story is like, it's weird because I feel like the first half just lacks a kind of hook. Like it lacks a villain, and that kind of hurts it. But then the second half has a villain, but even then, it's kind of rushed. Like, the 10 Wise Men, I used to really like. But now I'm kind of like, yeah, they're a neat concept, but I feel like they just kind of rushed the second half and don't do enough with it. So, they kind of dropped the ball on it, unfortunately. Overall, Star Ocean 2, it's still a good enough game. Play Second Story R. Like, for as much as I don't like the combat, even in Second Story R is gorgeous, and everything else about Star Ocean 2 is still there. It's still a really fun time. So Star Ocean 2, it's worth your time. But yeah, I'm gonna speed this along. Arc the Lad. D or C? Absolutely. I kind of want to put this in C. I'm just gonna say, this is really quick. I do know what game is going in D tier. I don't know if this one will either. I'm gonna put it in C. The reason why Arc the Lad is going in C is because it's an 8-hour game, give or take. I spent 8 hours with it, but I also didn't do like all the side quests and stuff. But Arc the Lad is a 8-ish hour game. Let's say 8 to 10 hours. 8 to 10 hour game that builds upon the second one. It leads into the second one, ends with a cliffhanger. The second one more or less picks up where it left off. That is why Arc the Lad is getting a C tier. Also the fact that it's short. The level scaling in this game is trash. I remember playing it for the first 3 hours and I was like, yeah, the game seems fine with balancing. But then after 3 hours, I was just like, wow, enemies are suddenly spiking. I was soloing the game with Ark. Ark was the only one like actually doing all the work. The others were falling behind. Leveling other characters up was a chore. So it's a little grindy, I guess. Like, it's a short game, but they expect you to grind because like the level scaling is trash. So that really dampened my mood. The story is also nothing special. However, I do really like the twist they do with I'm not gonna say it, but the twist they do at the end is really nice, and it leads really well to the second game. But yeah, Arc the Lad, short game, not much to say. I feel like it leading into the second game and being a short game is kind of what helps it. Anyway, Final Fantasy 7. Why did I say it like that? FF7. FF7. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for wherever I put this. Do I like FF7 more than Star Ocean 2? That's the real question. I think I do. I think I like FF7 more than Star Ocean 2. I think FF7 gets a B tier. B tier for FF7? Yeah. Do I like this game more than Arc the Lad 3? Final Fantasy VII has one of the best storylines of the time. I really like the FF7 lore of Midgar and like stuff with Cloud. It's no secret that I'm more of a fan of the remake. Cloud in original FF7 is like fine, but I really love Cloud in the remake. Overall though, the characters are still fun in FF7. FF7 is still a really special game to me. It's got a really good storyline. The characters are pretty good in it, and they're used pretty well. The gameplay is really fun, standard ATB. You know how it be, not just standard turn-based like a lot of these other games I've talked about. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII, like, I feel like over the years, like, my opinion of it has kind of dropped. It's always going to be that special game to me. It's always going to have that special place in my heart. But it's just like, I'm playing the remake and I'm like, yeah, the original is still, it's still special, but it's still like, I'm not really a big FF7 stan. Like, I've never really been the person who's like, oh, Final Fantasy VII is my favorite Final Fantasy. It's never been my favorite Final Fantasy. I've always liked it, but it's never been my favorite. It's a very, to me, it's like, it's overrated, I feel. But, I really like, the story is really good, though. I really like, I'm trying to think of how to word it. I like, the Midgar section's not that well done in the original, but, the original game does, stuff outside of Midgar really well, like chasing Sephiroth, doing the stuff at the Gold Saucer, doing stuff at the Temple of the Ancients, and, again, I'm talking about locations, but I'm not talking about what happens in them. Shinra are interesting villains to combat against, the weapons are really sick, what else? The Tifa Scarlet moment, if you know what I'm talking about. So FF7 just has a couple of great moments in it, and it's always going to be that special game, and I really gotta play it again. I gotta do a redux of the original game, because my playthrough is very dated, and also I just want to play the original again. So honestly, I think talking about everything, it's going to be a special game to me. It gets a B tier. Do I like it more than Arc the Lad 3, though, is the question. I think I like it more than Arc the Lad 3. Probably. Well, I don't know. These two are kind of neck to neck. I'm going to put it over Arc the Lad 3. It's really close. It's really close. But anyway, Breath of Fire 3. I really need to play this game again. I'm gonna put Breath of Fire 3 here for now. I remember really liking Breath of Fire 3. I need to play it again. I'm gonna play it sometime soon, on the channel. But, Breath of Fire 3 is a really good game. I remember really liking the story and some of the things it tackles. I remember the early game being really slow, but it picks up and it has some really nice messages and really nice themes integrated into it. So, and also the villain of Breath of Fire 3 is not like, it's not like Galleon levels of good, but I do remember the villain being interesting in Breath of Fire 3, what it represents. So, some of the themes represented in Breath of Fire 3 are really good. The story picks up, like, later in the game. Also, not really a big spoiler, but there is a childhood and an adult arc. So that is really cool about Breath of Fire 3. The combat is also pretty fun. It's standard turn-based. I'm not a big fan of the master system personally, but it could be worse, I guess. The Dragon Gene system. I will sing the praises of the Dragon Gene system. It is so good. I love getting different genes in the world. I love combining them to get different dragons and stuff. Turning Ryu into different dragons is really cool. I am so excited to play this game again. I'll play it again soon. I remember really liking Breath of Fire 3. The characters are also pretty neat. Ryu's a silent protagonist, so not much on him. The characters like Nina, Gar, Momo, and is there one more? There's 5, right? No, there's 5. Okay, that's all of them. Are really good. But yeah, the story, like, again, it's a bit of a slow burn, but if you roll with it, it gets really interesting later in the game, and it has some nice themes in it. The music is also a bop. I love the soundtrack of Breath of Fire 3. I've been listening to it on Spotify recently to hype myself up for when I play the game again. Oh, I forgot Ray. Ray is really cool. I forgot about Ray. Ray is a cool character. But, Breath of Fire 3 is a really good game. Honestly, maybe when I replay it, I'll put it to A tier. I'm putting it at B tier for now because I haven't played it in a really long time. But it might go to A tier if I play it again and decide, like, yeah, I really like it. I'm going to save this tier list, and then when I play more PS1 RPGs, I'm going to do, like a second draft. Like, this is the first draft of the PS1 RPG tier list. I'm going to do more drafts as I play more games and refresh myself on certain ones. But yeah, Breath of Fire 3, good game. I highly recommend it. It's on PSP, I think, and it's also on PSN for, like, PlayStation 3, but play it. It's a good game. Arc the Lad 2, another easy S tier. This is actually really tough. I'm not sure if I like Arc the Lad 2 more than Lunar 2. I'm going to put Arc the Lad 2 over Lunar 2. So, as I said, Arc the Lad 1 does a really good job leading into Arc the Lad 2. Arc the Lad 2 has one of my favorite protagonists. I really like Elk. Elk is amazing protagonist. The way they do his storyline, the way they do his thing with White House is really, really good. Again, I'm not talking spoilers, but I'm talking light spoilers, not really. I'm talking about stuff that happens in the game. I'm leaving stuff open for interpretation for you to be like, oh yeah, I'll play the game. But Arc the Lad 2, the characters are Elk is an amazing protagonist. The other characters are like also good. I really like the way I'm a sucker for the way they kind of combine the Arc the Lad characters and new ones like Shantae, Shu, Liza, however you say it, Sonya, and Elk. I'm a sucker for that kind of thing where like they join forces. Also, the way they paint Arc in the beginning of the game is masterful. This game is really good. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think about this, it's actually dangerously close to overtopping Grandia as my favorite PS1 RPG. Like, just thinking about Arc the Lad 2 is like, oh, it is so good. It does have some problems, though. It's not perfect. The combat is, like, good. The strategy gameplay is, like, fun enough. But, it does have some... It has a dodge miss mechanic that I really am not a fan of. And it has one of the worst final bosses in all of gaming. Those are, like, the two big problems. Overall, though, it's got so much content, too. It's also a long game. Which, I mean, I don't really care if games are long, but, oh, that just means I get to play it again. Dude, I gotta play Arc the Lad 2 again. Talking about Arc the Lad 2 is just making me excited to play Arc the Lad 2 again. Like, Grandia is still my favorite PS1 RPG, but Arc the Lad 2 is dangerously close. Like, maybe not dangerously close, but surprisingly close to overtaking it. I played Grandia so many times, and I really love Grandia, and I really love the story and the characters and the themes. I talk about it in all my playthroughs. Arc the Lad 2, I only played it once. I played it one time. If I played Arc the Lad 2 like another time or two, like another attempt or two, it's possible my opinion can slightly change. But again, I played Grandia many times. I played Arc the Lad 2 one time. I really gotta play it again at some point. But it is a really good game. The music is also pretty good. It's nothing spectacular, but I think it's really good. What I really like about Arc the Lad 2 is the setting. I really like the 1920s-esque setting they got going on. Some of the locations look really nice. It kind of has like the steampunk that FF6 has going on. But personally, I like Arc the Lad 2 more than FF6. Again, I really like the characters as a group. That's what I really like. And some of the character arcs are really good. But yeah, ArcLight 2, it's a really, really fun game. Elk is an amazing protagonist. Elk and Arc make a really good duo. Just them working together is really cool. It's just a really cool concept for them to join forces. And also, the way they paint Arc early in the game. If you know, you know. But, ArcLight 2, unfortunately, is not on modern consoles. But, buy the ArcLight collection for ArcLight 2. Oh, my Spotify list, hang on, I want to shuffle this. I'm almost done anyway, but, shuffle that. But, yeah. ArcLight 2 is a really good game. Honestly, the ArcLight collection is worth it alone for ArcLight 2, to be honest with you. ArcLight 1's really short, ArcLight 2 is a really good game, and ArcLight 3 is like, you might like it, your mileage may vary. Overall, ArcLight 2, very good game. Xenogears. So, this is going in A tier. Another game I haven't played in a while, but Xenogears is a masterpiece by many people. I still love the game. It's not my favorite, but it's probably number 5. Like, these 4 are my top 4 PS1 RPGs. Xenogears might be number 5. Again, I need to play it again. So you know what? Nah, keep it here. Keep it here. Xenogears is really good. The story is... oh, really good. The story is captivating. It probably has the best storyline of these games. Like, no contest. It does have some problems, though, because the second disc was, like, they had to cut it short for budget constraints, so it's kind of, like, mostly narration. But, Xenogears is, like, its story is still unrivaled. It is still really good. It's got so many themes of, like the id, ego, and super ego. It's got some Sigmund Freud in there. It's got some psychology themes, which I'm a sucker for. It uses them really well. It's got so many dark undertones in it, and again, I'm not spoiling the game. And Xenogears is also the kind of game where I feel like you play it once, you don't really fully understand it. Like, you play it once, you're gonna have questions. You get the gist of the game, but like, you're like, oh, what the heck did I just play? Like, I played the game once, and I definitely want to play it again this year. It and Breath of Fire 3 are, like, the next 2 games I have to get on the YouTube channel. But, its story is really good. It's the kind of game you play a second time and you find out stuff that you didn't really, like, pick up on before. It's a really, really good story. The gameplay in Xenogears is, like, fine. It's not that fun. It's mostly just, like, spamming, like, the combos and death blows. It's turn-based, so it's not, like, the worst thing in the world. Xenogears is, like, it's kind of like ArcLight 2, where the combat is, like, I mean, ArcLight 2's gameplay is better, though. But, Xenogears is kind of like a game where, like, the combat, like, you kind of just go through it. Like, it's a text-heavy game, it's a story-heavy game, you're playing it for the story, it's mostly story anyway. The gameplay's just kind of there. What is cool about Xenogears is the mech battles. The mech battles are really, really cool. While the core concept of death blows is the same, I do like seeing the mechs battle it out. Battling with Faye and the Welltail and, like, Ellie and, is it called Viersurge? I forgot what Ellie's mech is called, but you know what I'm saying. The mech battles are really, really cool. Xenogears is, combat. It's, like, pretty good. It's not, like, terrible. It's not, like, amazing. It's pretty good. The music is also really good. It's not my favorite soundtrack, but I really, really like it. And I really like the characters. I think Faye is a pretty good protagonist. He's up there. Faye is really deep. The way they do Faye is really well done. And then, like, characters like Bart, Ellie, and, I'm blanking. Who are the other characters? Who are the other characters in this game? Satan? How do you say his name? Satan? I'll say Satan. Satan is also really good. Satan, Bart, and, Ellie. I remember them 4 are really good characters. But yeah, Xenogears, a game I really have to play again. Again, negatives are like disc 2. They were rushed and pressed for time, so they kind of had to speed it along. And also, because of how big the game is and how deep it is really slow. I do remember when I played Xenogears, it took me a while to really get invested in the game. But once I did, I was like, I did not want to put it down. But overall, Xenogears is a really good game. Probably my 5th favorite PS1 RPG. I really have to play it again to cement that, though. Final Fantasy 9. We're gonna put Final Fantasy 9 right here. Final Fantasy 9 is probably... You know what? Actually, no. I recently played Final Fantasy 9 on the channel. It's gonna go above Xenogears for that reason. FF9 is my 3rd or 4th favorite Final Fantasy game. It's kind of battling it out with 8. I really like the story. The story is like okay. I really like blanking. I really like the story of the game. It's got like the nice medieval fantasy thing going on. I feel like the game's story is good for like I like this 2 is my favorite. The stuff with Terra is also really cool and like Kuja and Zidane and stuff. Again, I'm not saying anything specific, but it does kind of fall flat in the story department a little bit, but overall I think the story is pretty good and it does pretty well for what it is. The characters in the game are also good. I really like Zidane, Vivi, and Garnet. Zidane, Vivi, and Garnet are an amazing trio. I think they're great characters. Garnet's one of the best heroines in all of Final Fantasy. Vivi's one of the best characters in all of Final Fantasy. Steiner kind of grows on me a little bit. He's pretty good. I see what they were going for with his arc. It's not amazing. And then like characters like Aiko is fine, and then Amaran and Frey is also like cool, but they don't do enough with her. Amaran and Kina are just there to be there, I guess. Combat in FF9 is good, classic ATB. I do wish they did Trance better. I talked about this when I did my playthrough, but I'm just not a fan of Trance being so arbitrary and random. You can't really control it like you could the limits in FF7 or even FF8, because FF8 you could just like use Aura in the late game. But FF9's Trance just feels so arbitrary, and it's like the main gameplay gimmick, but you can't really take advantage of it. What else about FF9? The music is really good. The story is like good. I do like the villains. Kuja is a really good villain, I think, in FF9. The way they do him is really well done, and more stuff I want to talk about, but I don't want to spoil it. But later in the game, some of the twists they do is really, really nice. I think FF9's story is good. It's not perfect, but I think the story is pretty good. I'm putting it above Xenogears because, again, I played the game more recent than Xenogears. If Final Fantasy IX is not my 5th favorite, it's probably my 6th favorite PS1 RPG. So it might be number 5. It's either number 5 or number 6, but we'll see, won't we? Tales of Eternia. This gets no higher than the B tier. I have a soft spot for Tales of Eternia. I'll put it in B tier. I'm gonna put it right here. Right above Final Fantasy VII, under Breath of Fire 3. Tales of Eternia is a good Tales game. It's like one of the earliest ones that's not like too dated. The combat is like fine. Again, it's like a little spammy. Some of the bosses have annoying stun locking gimmicks, and some of them are kind of hard to knock out of combos and stuff. But overall, Tales of Eternia, the combat's like good enough. Like, the summons are really, really cool. Some of the mystic arts are really nice to look at. So I think the combat, as far as old Tales of games go, it's pretty good. I think it's good. The story in the game is like nothing special. I do love the concept of getting all the summons, aka the Kramels. I think that's a really cool concept of going around the world of Empyrea and Celestia. Also, it started the 2 Tales of world plot, so that's really cool. The characters are also neat. I really like Reed, Farah, Keela, Merity's little group they got going on. I really, really like it. Especially Reed. Later in the game, they do some interesting stuff with him as a protagonist. Nothing like groundbreaking, but I think they do it pretty well. Farah is my favorite character. The way they do her is really good. But yeah, the characters won't blow you away in Tales of Eternia, but I think they're nice. I think they're really, really nice. What makes them great for me personally is their bond with each other. I really like Reed, Farah, Merity, and Keel as a group. The 3 as childhood friends, and then Merity kind of joining her in. Them kind of teaching Merity the ways of like Empyrea and like how to fit in and stuff is really, really good. And then also pay tribute to Ras, one of the best characters, the best side character. Tales of Eternia, like, trying to think. Tales of Eternia falls flat with its villain. I think they could have done Shizel a little bit better, but it was kind of a blueprint for like Mythos and Symphonia. Really, I just believe Eternia was a blueprint for Symphonia in general, but overall, Tales of Eternia, it's a solid Tales game. It's a good like older Tales game to try out and see how it kind of got started. It's like the first Tales game that really they knew what they were doing, so I give them credit for that. Final Fantasy VIII. much soft spot for this game. I'm putting this in A tier, even though I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this. But Final Fantasy VIII is a really special game to me. It was the first Final Fantasy game I played. Its story is really weird a lot of the time, and the translation also doesn't do it any favors. But I love Squall and Rinoa. I love their love story. I love their chemistry. I love the way they interact with each other. Squall and Rinoa are two of my favorite characters in all of Final Fantasy. I really love their stuff. Final Fantasy VIII could do a lot better with, like, the other characters. I feel like Zell, yeah, has his moment with Squall at one point in Disc 2. Quistis got her small moment, even though she could have got more. Irvin had a small moment, and then Selphie had her moment. Like, they get their moments, and they have their moments that are really minimal. But I do think it could have been better, and the game very much still heavily focuses on Squall and Rinoa. Like, that's what it focuses on. But, overall, like, I don't know, I can't help but love it. I can't help but love the story. This is very much a game where I'm like, I see its problems, and I see why people don't like it, but I still can't help but love it. This is a game where I guess you could say I'm blinded by nostalgia for Final Fantasy VIII. Like, I know it's not the best game ever made, but I still love it. And I also, like, I make a tradition to play it, like, every year or every, like, 2 years or something. Like, I like to play it every now and then because it's a really fun game. When was the last time I played FF8? I think it was it my playthrough? Might have been my playthrough, which was like 2-ish years ago? No, it was like a year and a half. It wasn't that long ago. But yeah, I'm gonna need to play this one again, even if it's on my own time. Maybe do like a fun mod for the channel or something. But Final Fantasy VIII is a really good game. The music is also one of the best in Final Fantasy. I really love the music. And again, the story kind of goes all over the place, especially in the later discs of the game. I'm not gonna say how. But it's really good. Something I forgot to talk about with this game is Laguna. Laguna is great. Part of me kind of wishes Laguna was more of the focus of the game, because he's kind of like a side-along protagonist with Squall, even though Squall is good. But I think the game would have been interesting if they, like, focused on Laguna and his troops instead of the others. Overall, though, it's kind of like a what-if scenario, but Laguna is great. Anytime he's on screen, I'm just like, oh, Laguna's my boy. He is my favorite Final Fantasy VIII character. I like him more than Squall and Rinoa, even though I really love Squall and Rinoa. But I really like Final Fantasy VIII. It's a really fun game. Triple Triad, tribute to one of the best minigames in all of gaming. I really love it. The junction system, I am also someone who likes the junction system, even though a lot of people do not like the junction system. And then just standard ATB. But yeah, again, you can, like, point out flaws with Final Fantasy VIII. Like, yeah, I get it. Like, I know why people don't like it, but I don't care. I can't help but love Final Fantasy VIII. And I will till the day I die. We're almost done. Tales of Destiny, the original Destiny, is going in D tier. This is, I was thinking about the worst PS1 RPG I played, and it's this one. The encounter rate is abysmally high. The story is very basic. I played the PS2 version. It's still very basic. The characters are, like, not that interesting. They don't do enough with them. They're not, like, bad, but they're, like, not great. The PS2 version actually does better with the characters because it has, like, skits. But again, we're talking about the PS1 version. The PS1 version has, like, doesn't really have that great with characters. Its story is kind of simplistic and, not really interesting and captivating. The combat is spammy and dated, even more so than Tales of Eternia. Really, it just comes down to, I remember some of the puzzles and some of the encounter rates and the gameplay just not being fun, and also the story and characters not being that interesting. So, like, Tales of Destiny, the original, to me, doesn't really have anything. That being said, I haven't played the original in a while, but I have no desire to. Like, play the PS2 version. It's better in every way. It still has problems, some of the same problems, but there's no reason to play the original Destiny over Director's Cut. But yeah, we are at Breath of Fire 4, the last game of the ensemble. I'm gonna put this... above Breath of Fire 3. I think I like Breath of Fire 4 more. Actually... too many minigames. Too many minigames. I'm also switching these two. Too many minigames in Breath of Fire 4. Breath of Fire 4, I think, has a really good story. I really like the concept of Ryu and Fu Lu. Was that his name? That's how you say it? Fu Lu. I like the Fulian Empire and the Ryu stuff. It kind of has a Squall Laguna thing going on where it switches between the two. I think that's really well done. The characters are also good. Nina, Cray, Urshin, Ursula. They're pretty good characters. I think the story is really good. This is also like my favorite incarnation of, actually no, Breath of Fire 3 is my favorite incarnation of Ryu. This Ryu also looks pretty good, but I do like Fu Lu as a character in Breath of Fire 4. The way they got his setup going on and you get to play as him a bit is really, really cool. The gameplay is also really fun. If Grandia is number 1 gameplay, Valkyrie Profile is number 2. This might be number 3. Maybe. You're probably thinking like, oh, Nova, isn't Breath of Fire 4 just straight up turn-based? And then I'm probably like, yeah, you're right. But Breath of Fire 4 has a really neat combo system, and it also lets you switch in characters on the fly, which Wild Arms 2 also did. But it also, like, the characters are also, like, active in the battle while they're in the reserve, so that was a really innovative and cool idea. But yeah, combat's pretty fun. Some of the areas are fun. I feel like where Breath of Fire 4 falls flat is too many minigames. Breath of Fire 3 had a good portion of minigames, but Breath of Fire 4 ups it up a notch. Like, a lot. They have a lot more minigames. The music is also really good. I don't think it's as good as Breath of Fire 3, but it's nice. Losing the world map was a bit of a disappointment, but it's not a big deal. Overall, Breath of Fire 4 is like... I haven't played it in a while. I played it more recent than 3, but still not super recent. Breath of Fire 4 is like, it's a solid PS1 game. It's a solid game. It's like, not one of my favorites. It's one I really want to play. The Dragon system, I missed the Dragon Gene system too. Breath of Fire 3 has the Dragon Gene system, which is better. But, overall, Breath of Fire 4 is a game I have to revisit. I remember really liking it. I think I like Breath of Fire 3 more, but we'll find out when I do both of them for the channel. But yeah, here you go. So we have S tier, Grandia, Arc the Lad 2, Lunar 2, Eternal Blue, Wild Arms 2. A tier, we have Final Fantasy 9, Xenogears, Lunar Silver Star Story Complete, Valkyrie Profile, Final Fantasy 8. B tier, we have Wild Arms 1, Breath of Fire 3, Tales of Eternia. Yeah, it says Destiny 2, but I don't care. Breath of Fire 4, Final Fantasy 7, Arc the Lad 3. C tier, Star Ocean The Second Story, Arc the Lad 1, Legend of Mana, and in D tier, Tales of Destiny. I think I'm pretty set with this. This could change when I do like the updated tier lists and when I come back for some of these games. But there will be more tier lists in the future, whether they're PS1 RPGs or not. There will definitely be more PS1 RPG tier lists because I want to do more as I play more of the games. Holy cow, this video is an hour. But yeah, thanks for joining me for this. Hopefully I didn't ramble for too long, but yeah, you know, stay tuned for other content, whether it's my playthroughs or just more tier lists. I want to do more of this. I like doing tier lists and talking my feelings out. I wasn't sure how this video was going to come out, but you know what? I think it came out pretty well, so I'm pretty happy about that. But yeah, thank you all for watching. See you all next time.